Good day, Mzansi. Actually, it's not even a good day, it's a good evening. Good evening, Mzansi. This is your boy, the Pain Advocate. So, as I promised you that we'll be having massive shows all the way, today we're having one of the most phenomenal speakers that will be joining me tonight. And I'm saying phenomenal speakers because I got a chance to be exposed to this guy. And guess what? He was on fire. So I just want to share my testimony before I bring on you Mr. Cobus Visser. So what happened was, we were speaking together at the Manhattan Hotel. And he was speaking, I think, after me. So I was like, but who is this Cobus? I went to his website and I'm like, okay. His bio actually seems impressive. And I got a chance, fortunate enough, to sit and listen to his speech. And guess what? From there, I was triggered. I was motivated. I was inspired to actually be in a position to understand that there is nothing on earth that I cannot do. And this is what I love the most. There is nothing on earth that I cannot do. And that I have the power. I have the power to choose what I want to do with my life. And ever since that day, ever since I met Cobuss, it was indeed an honor and privilege to be able to meet him, because ever since that day, my life was never the same again. Ever since that day, each and everything that I put my mind into, I ensure that I execute, because I no longer have any fear. I no longer have any limiting beliefs. I no longer classify things. But I right now know that if there's anything that I want to do on Mother Earth, then I can be able to do that. And I just want to say to you, Cobuss, thank you very much for instilling this principle in me by actually giving me an opportunity to do a Glasso. With that being said, let me bring you live at So I just want to urge each and every one of us to be having a book and a pen, because it's going to be indeed a massive, massive show. So, Cobuss, I'm trying to add you. I don't know what's happening from my side. Ah, massive, massive, massive. Good evening, Cobuss.
Good evening, Mr. Champ. What do you say? Brother from another mother, eh?
How are you tonight?
I'm good. You on fire, eh?
I'm
Looks
always
like the
on
glass.
fire because
Looks.
I'm preparing for the firework.
I know you're preparing. I see the glasswalk challenge you to take it up to raise the standard, eh?
Yes, you can even see the energy levels. I'm tired because I've been doing book deliveries today, but because I believe that I can do anything and everything, I'm still here with you.
Okay, it's good. So you've been hustling, hustling. Luckily, it's just selling books and not chasing girlfriends, eh?
Yeah, Kuba. Yeah, actually, it's time to make more money. I've declared this year as a massive year. So each and everything that I'm about to do before I add that particular thing, I add massive. So if I wanna go live, it means I'm gonna be having a massive show. If I wanna make money, I'm gonna make massive money. If I'm gonna write a book, I'm gonna write a massive book. So this year, I'm declaring this year as massive things. But let's not waste time. It's not about me tonight. It's about you. So a lot of people have been asking me this question. We see Magale on the poster. You said you are going live with Cobus Visser, the mental strength coach. What does he do? You know. And with that being said, I just wanna give you this platform. Who is Cobus?
Okay. I'm the sexy guy. I'm the sexy one on this call. Before, as you're gonna introduce me, I'm the, you know, the beauty one. You know, girls. Don't look at him. Look at me tonight.
Come on. Come on.
Uh, no, I'm just honored to be on your show, my friend. Looking forward to whatever you have to share tonight. So yeah, go ahead. Are you ready?
I'm most definitely ready. But therefore, before we go on anything, I just want you to give my listeners a clarity on what does a a mental strength coach does. What do you do, Cobus?
Huh? Oh, I think there's a lot of things. Mental strength is about creating and using your mind, mind power in the end of the day. You know, mental strength is it's like any muscle that we have to exercise. You know, like when you would go to the gym to get your body into shape, you have to shape your brain, your mind. You know, I think that's the one muscle that most of us don't exercise and don't look after. You know, especially when you go through pain, when you go through depression, when you go through challenges, the power of all of that to conquer that lies in here, So for us to conquer that in the end of the day, we need to get our mind strong, especially during this time of COVID. It is so important for us to be mental strength because it's mental wellness is the most important. You know, I've lost a few people that I know on my Facebook that are friends that I saw that committed suicide because of just letting go. And just because of not, I'm not saying they weren't strong up here, but it's because if you don't exercise this, you won't be able to conquer the challenges in front of you, because life is tough, bro. And I'm going to say probably later about my journey about climbing Kilimanjaro, but it's the same thing, there was every single day I climbed that mountain, I wanted to give up. And, it was just painful. Every day I wake up in pain, I was just sitting down now and contemplating, and I'm like, I'm so in pain. My body is in pain. I've been in pain this all day, just to go and type stuff on the computer is already now a challenge because I have to go work after this. And I can't move my elbows, I can't, my ankles. And so it's the mental strength of pushing through circumstances like that that wants you to stop you from reaching your full potential.
Impressive. When you're actually mentioning pain, you're reminding me of this young lady I've once met. So she's a daughter of my mentor, right? So one of the good days I visit my mentor, and then I find her child, or her daughter in particular, exercising. But there's something special about this child. So this child kept on saying, my pain, the pain for today is going to be my strength tomorrow. And I'm like, how old are you? And he's like, I'm 8 years. So I'm like, okay, what keeps you going? And he's like, to me, Magal, you know what? Each and every time I exercise, I feel pain, most especially the first days. But I keep on telling myself that my pain today is going to be my strength for tomorrow. So ever since that day, I got inspired. I even think I released the quote about this, that you might be going through pain now, but that pain will be your strength tomorrow. And that leads me, Cobus, to my second question, that the time we met, you and I, you were sharing your story. And your
Yes.
story, I think, is able, without a doubt, to change lives. Because it triggered me when you said that if I can do this, then who are you not to do it? And when you said this word, I'm sitting there, I'm like, you know what? I think I could actually be the first one to do it last week. If you could do it, then I can also do it. So in the next 2 to 3 minutes, Cobus, do you mind sharing with us your journey? Because the main aim of this show is we meet Cobus as an end result. I met you already, you're a speaker, you're a big brand. But I'm interested in what inspired that journey. What was happening? What was going through your mind? Because hence the name of the show is Talk All Out. Because we want to get to the point where we actually gain strength in this show. To say, but if Cobus was able to do it, then who am I not to do it? With that being said, can you just share with us your story? What was happening? What was going through in your life before the end result that we see, Cobuss the big brand?
Thank you very much. You say a big brand. For me, I feel like I'm just beginning now, and I'm just a newbie, and so I constantly, say now I'm the new kid on the block. So I'm pushing myself to be the big guy that you are talking about. I grew up in a house where my dad in 1996 left the police force to start his own business. And I was born as a hemophiliac, so my dad had to do it to look after us because for our pain and medication and everything that we went through. Me and my younger brother are what we call a hemophiliac. Now, a hemophiliac means it's a bleeder and means my blood doesn't clot, so I bleed internally. I don't have elbows, I don't have ankles. Just to give you an example, this is how straight my elbow can go. Can't touch my shoulder. You can see it's a little bit damaged, and it's the same with the left one as well. Can't straighten it, can't touch my shoulder. So I'm in constantly pain. And so 2009, my first son gets born, and I get to the hospital and I can't pick up my son. I can't even hold my son. And the impact was big because, I feel like I can't connect with my own little boy. And the impact of it was in 4 years later, we were expecting a second child, and we didn't know if it's a boy or a girl. And my young boy draw like an image and said, oh, Dad, they had two little babies there, and he had a cross over the one. He says, Dad, I don't want a little sister. I want a little brother that can play with me. And he came to him and to me, and then when he got to me, I had a cross over me. And he said, Dad, you are dead to me at 4 years old. For me, that was a big impact, and it really hit me hard at that point of my life that I either accept that my reality or I change it. And I went through a big depression at that time, a few times contemplating suicide. I've written the letters, and I've, prepared myself that I'm not gonna make it anymore because my kids can survive without me. And then I was invited to a weekend away with my brother. His name is Ash. He's living in New Zealand now. And we went for a weekend away at like a retreat. And at that retreat, there was a firework and walked on fire that night without getting burned. And wow, and that basically put me on the path that I am today, because the fire is the most powerful metaphor there is, because fire brings new life. Diamonds get forged by fire. If you think about the bushveld, when a fire goes through, it burns away all of the bad things and the old stuff and everything, and then the new life comes, and it clears the way for new growth. And I think that day of the firework basically burnt out my past, the way I was thinking about myself and my life. It's basically burnt away my mindset of the past, and it created the landscape for rain to come to bring new life. And so basically that started me on the journey where I'm today. And, I went on self-development, self-growth after that. I went from one course to the next. I went to one of my mentors at that time was Tony Robbins. And he does firewalking, where did he do it? And so I went to go study where he started to do the firewalking. And came back. And then slowly, year by year, I grew to where I'm today. I left the family business to say I'm going to do this the full time, and this is where I am today. Constantly pushing through. Is it a challenge? I think it is still a daily challenge. I had to change the way I do business. I had to change the way I approach life, because the last time I did a few events was in October that I got paid for, and before that was the beginning of the year. And just to give you an idea, sorry, I'm talking a lot, but in the beginning of the year last year, exactly a year ago, and let's go one more year, in 2009, 19.
19.
I saw there was a big event at Gallagher with Robin Banks and so forth. And I said, damn, I would love to speak in front of 3,000 or 1,000 people, not even 3,000, 1,000 people. And I said, exactly, I'm going to give myself 12 months and I'm going to do it. I'm going to be in my biggest audience. Exactly a year later, and it's today, it's a year ago, I was in front of my biggest audience of 6,500 people. And, it took a year to do it. And so what I want to come back to is, I thought last year was going to be my biggest year. And it was. It started off like that. My first summit I was part of, after that, there was 10,000 people on the summit. It just went. And then suddenly it went down. And I think this is where the mental strength comes in, and all of the tools as well as to get me through that. So, in short, that is some of the things that the firewalking, Mr. Payne, Mugali, is Mugali, right?
Yeah, Morale.
Oh, Mugali. Just to get back to where I am today, one of the biggest catalysts and elements that got me today to where I am was the firewalking. That's the most powerful element and experience you can do.
Mm, 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 mm. You know, Cobus, I don't know, but there's this advert that says this man deserves a bells. You know, with what you just said now. Actually, right now that you're talking to me, I get even more inspired. You know, because is I can only imagine what we're going through. Really, I can only imagine. But right now, I'm wondering in my head that okay, when just take us your first experience when you were doing the firework for the very first time. What was going through your mind at that particular time? Because the moment, actually, let me confess this. Before the event that happened in Manhattan, I told myself I'm gonna do the firework. But when the glass came off, I'm like, what? This actually Pella is real glass. Besides that is real glass, those glasses were too big for me. Like I was like, no, there's no way a human being could walk there, you know? And that fear triggered for a moment, but because I was busy talking about the fire, I mean the glass walk, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. I'm like, I cannot disappoint myself and everybody I've told about the fact that I'm gonna do that glass walk. But can you just take us through what was going through your mind when you actually did your first firework?
When they said the first time we're gonna walk over fire, I said there's no freaking way I'm gonna do it. I think we as human beings are made to protect ourselves and not take risks and sit back. And I think that is the safe space. I was like, I'm a hemophilia. My parents brought me up very in a comfortable, protective space because you can't do this, can't do this, you can't do it. And at that moment, it's 500 to 600 degrees Celsius of fire. It means that your flesh burns at 150, aluminium melts at 250, and yet you're walking over 500 to 600. I was scared. I was afraid, and start seeing some of the guys walking over it. And I think that already is like, oh, maybe one can do it. And then the energy of the environment, it made me also realize the importance of having the right friend group, because that energy is infectious, infectious. And so the energy infected me. The possibility, what if it is possible? What if? We all have this mindset, yeah, I can't do this, I can't do that, I'm not good enough, whatever. But what if you are good enough? What if maybe you can? And so the thing came up to me, what if I also can walk? And so I went and I walked, and that first feeling was just amazing. Now, I always say you will never forget your first fire walking experience. Just to give you an example, those who usually come to the firewalk that has never experienced a firewalk, I call is as a fire virgin. Like, now you are a fire virgin. And so sometimes people come to lose their virginity to me on the fire. And, so yeah, so that night I lost my virginity to the fire, and like in anything, I remember it till up to date, and it's gonna always be by me. It had a big impact on my life. That night I couldn't sleep. I processed how did I do this. I just walked over fire, and I couldn't sleep. I felt my feet. It was the most amazing experience in life. Sometimes it's is it a good thing? Sometimes I wondered because it awakened me to new possibilities about a new purpose, a new vision, a new focus. So it basically brought new life in me.
Mm, mm. Okay, no, thank you very much, which that on its own brings me to the focus of today. Because Cobus, I have seen the level of fear that this COVID instilled in a lot of us. A lot of us are not at peace, therefore they cannot be productive. A lot of us are not at peace, therefore they are not at ease. And that on its own triggered me. Like, I found that very problematic. Hence, I requested you today because I wanted you most definitely to inspire us, to educate us. How does one overcome their own fears? It might be fear of limiting beliefs, fear of the unknown, fear of what is known. And how do you become actually productive in the midst of fear? Like, let's say right now we are facing a pandemic as a country. How do we become productive in the midst of a pandemic of this nature? And how do we then shift our mindset to ensure that we become productive? So I hope you got my question.
There's so many questions in that one question, but let me start with one. You know, fear only exists in our thoughts of the future. You know, what if tomorrow I get sick? What if I don't can be able to pay my bills? What if you know, it gets worse? What if? It's all about that what if question again, but what if in a negative sense? And the other part of fear is fear of yesterday. Not good enough. I've been told that I will never make it. Past experience of seeing the virus killing people, people losing their jobs. So it's living in the past. But when you're in the moment where you are now, like now, there is no fear. So what I just say to people, the only way to get over fear is to go through fear. And so how do we go through fear? It's to go through today. Focus only on today. Focus on what is in your control. You know, COVID is not in our control. We can't control the government, what they choose, and what the we can only control what we can control, and that is our action. So what I say is to get yourself getting through fear is taking one step at a time. Create a plan. Focus on that plan and start executing that plan. You know, to give you an example, I'm afraid of spiders. I have a fear of spiders. I run. I scream like a girl. You know. Then the woman inside of me come out. You know. Ah! You
And
know,
the irony behind that is, how can you not be scared of fire yet become scared of a spider?
you know, I think that is part of human beings. You know, I always say there will always be fears to face. And so one of my events at the firework, I got a snake handler and a spider handler to come through, and he took out a spider. And when he took out the spider, it's like a big one, you know, with hair on it and everything. And he put it on my hand. And the moment he put it on my hand was sweaty and I was shaking. And the spider picked up his claws like that. Guy said he's gonna bite you now. And you know, that's even more scary. He says he knows you are scared of him. You must let him know you're not scared. And so, what is one thing about fear is that when we are afraid, you need to become consciously aware of your breathing. And when you are afraid, your breathing, you sometimes will hold it because you are afraid, and you know it's a sort of builds up energy so that you can fight or fright. And one thing that I realized with the spider, I just needed to relax. I just needed to get into myself. I needed to become present in the moment. Not what if he's going to bite me in the future, or my bad experiences of images. And suddenly I just had to breathe in and slow and relax and say, all will be fine. You know, I can control this. What can I control? I can control my breathing. I can control my hand. I can actually enjoy this moment. And at that moment, I enjoyed it. The spider walked on me. I have the photos to prove it. You know, it's the same with snakes. And that evening, I remember there was a lady that was shit scared of snakes. And we did the same experience with her. And guess what? In the end of the day, she held the snake. You know, just because of the same philosophy, and not being afraid of what if it's going to happen, but saying, what can I control? Let me focus on that. And the moment she could control her present, suddenly she could hold the spider after the snake.
Wow. So I'm sitting here, you know, I always have my paper and pen. So I take notes because I'm consistently learning from you guys. And I really like to thank God that He actually gave me this opportunity to learn from the greatest and the greatest and greatest, the King of Kings. So I got to hear that. But, Cobus, I'm sitting here, the present moment seems impossible. Like right now, just going outside increase the chances of me of acquiring COVID just by opening my door. right? So we have a lot of people currently living in that jail, in the jail of fear, in a jail where nothing seems possible in their own naked eyes. And nothing seems possible in their own mind because they are scared of what is outside, right? So how then do you inspire or actually motivate that kind of a being who is saying, I'm afraid of the outside, therefore I rather live within now. This is what I can do. But from outside I
Look,
cannot go because of
look,
what's happening outside.
yeah, fear is good for you, right? You know, fear is not bad. We shouldn't think that fear is a bad thing. You know, fear is there to protect us. Fear is there for us to not go crazy. It's to help us process things. So fear is not a bad thing. If we make fear our friend, we can use it to advantage. Now the thing is, if you constantly keep focusing on the fear becomes more. You know, where focus goes, energy flows. So if you're going to keep focusing on the fear, you're going to keep attracting it more. Now, I'm not afraid of the virus because I don't focus the whole time on the virus, you know. And the thing is, the virus is real. I'm not saying it's not real, and I'm not saying you shouldn't go out of your masks and everything. But if you're constantly going to be afraid of doing that, you're going to keep attracting scenarios and situations where you're going to attract the virus. And you then really, I believe, then you become sick. I have the thing about the virus is not going to affect me. I'm a child of God. You know, I don't walk through the shadows of the valley, at the valley of death. You know, I walk because I'm a child of God. I'm here for a purpose. You know, and He's there to protect me. I'm not going to be stupid. You know, I'm not just going to jump into a lake of crocodiles and hope they don't. It's the same with the fire. You know, if you don't prepare yourself and you think you can do a firework at home, guess what? You're freaking going to get burned because you didn't do the right process. You didn't understand the process. Okay, so the one thing is there's a certain process that we need to follow in everything. And so with the COVID virus out there, it is real. Yes, you have to sanitize yourself. You have to look after yourself. Make it a new habit. But then again, don't keep attracting it on you by focusing on the negativity and focusing on every, oh, I might get virus, I might this, not. No, do the process right. Make sure you're always sanitized. Make sure that you have the mask on when you have to have it on, because that is the process. The firewalking is you have to focus on the other side. Secondly, you have to chant ice cold, because whatever you hear, you see, you feel, and that becomes your reality. So see ice cold and not freaking red hot coals. The same with the virus. The virus is not in your mind, is not there yet. It is there, but we don't acknowledge it. If you hear what I say, you know. So it's not taking risks and chances, but it's just understanding there's a process that you have to follow. And so, you know, to those who are sitting at home that are afraid, you know, they are afraid because they're creating and they're feeding that voice in their head to make them even more afraid. You know, and I say, feed the voice and says, but what can you control? And go out and say, but I can get through this. I'm not going to put myself in harm's way. I'm going to make sure that I sanitize and I put my mask on and I look after myself. Then nothing will happen with you because that is in your control. That is my belief. You know, and I'm not saying for those who got the virus, and I need to clear that, you know, that they didn't believe it, or, you know, they didn't, that they were negative. I don't say that because I don't know their circumstances. I just know in my life, you know, how I see the world and how I attract it. And that's why I don't have the virus yet, because I'm not scared. I traveled to PE, I traveled to Cape Town, and people ask me, Cobus, aren't you scared? I say, well, the reality, there is a virus, but I'm not going to be stupid. I'm not going to make a fire at home and walk through it without guidance and get burned. No, you know, I look after myself. And I think that is one thing that is important. So I know I talk a lot, you know, if you let me go, I can talk the whole night.
No. Remember, Cobus, there are different platforms for different people. So today we're speaking everything Cobus, not Mogale. There will be a time for me also. You know, today's about you. So with that being said, Cobus, I'm sitting here wondering, when can we at least expect maybe an event or the next firework or the next glass walk? Because I guess that's one question that everybody's having right now. Because to confess, actually, I usually had a lot of Christians saying we're born again. But trust me, after doing at last walk, for some very weird reasons, being born again felt real. You know, for once in my life, being born again felt real. You know, I felt like this complete new human being, living in a new world, in a world of full of possibilities, in a world full of opportunities, in a world full of potentials. And therefore, are there any events lined up that you can expect so that we attend? Because it's so amazing. I'm sitting here wondering, actually, how many times can I be born again in a year? I mean, I would love that in a year, maybe I was 4 Morales, you know. What can we expect in the near future from you?
Yeah, I think,
What can we expect in the near future from you?
yeah, I think the one thing that is important is that next week I'm doing an event, a speakers event, and I'm speaking every day. So I think we will put it on the chat box, the link for people to book. Later this year, dependent on the lockdown, I will then schedule my first firewalking events, and I hope you all can then come and join us. And you have to follow you to make sure that we're going to put it out. But I'm there. I can't do anything until the government has told us that we are open to do it. And then I do a retreat once a year. Now, it was supposed to be happening in May, and so it all depends on the lockdown, but I have a gut feel it's going to be here more of October month. And the retreat is about a 4.5-day event where we walk on fire every day. We walk with lions, we walk with scorpions. It's a spiritual body mind retreat where you come in, you find your purpose, you get energized, you get recharged, and you get out there and you go to the next level. You raise the standard. And I think if you can attain that, it will change your life forever.
Okay, no, thank you very much. Just one more tip though. What is the concept behind firework and glasswalk? Why do people need to do that? What is the concept behind glasswalk and firework? Why should people do it? Or why do you think it's important for people to do that?
It's important to do that because everyone always asks me, Cobus, why should we do it? Well, I say it's not about the firework or the glasswalk. It is a metaphor to get you to take action. You know, it's a metaphor for you to show that sometimes if you do calculated risks, that you can do anything. Now, to give you an example, whenever you go through a challenge, you can always relate it back to a firework. Wow, I could walk over the fire. I can overcome this as well. Now, in 2018, I had to hire someone at a big salary, and I didn't have the money. And I'm like, sure, how am I going to do this? And I was in New Zealand at that time. And I'm like, I need to do an activity. Now, I've done the firewalking, I've done the glass walking and other activities. And I said, no, there was something I need to challenge myself bigger. And so in New Zealand, there is something called the Auckland Towers. You go to the top and then you jump off, okay, with a rope around you, but around your waist. So it feels like you're falling. So I said, if I can do that, I can hire this person. So I go up because I have a fear of heights. And I'm scared, man. I'm going there and I'm holding and I'm saying, I can't do this. And I'm like, the same thought process of, I can't hire this person. And then I like, okay, what is the process? I trust the process, trust the rope, trust everything will be okay. I need to trust myself and my actions and that I have all of the resources. And so I jumped, and the first moment, that first step is the hardest. But after a few seconds, I realized this is actually fun, and I enjoyed the fall down to the bottom. And it made me realize it's the first step in everything we do in our life that is the hardest. And this is what the firewalking and glass walking teaches us, that it's all in our mind. Once we walk that first step, I guarantee all my participants that you look back and you say, but that was easy. No, man, Cobus, you tricked us. The glass is not real. The fire is not real. No, you're joking. And then it becomes a reality to them that, wow, they actually were too negative in their mind and not being able to do that. So this stops us from taking action. And I say the fire and the glass and all of these activities helps you to break through that mental stuckness where you're stuck, to say that I just need to take the first step.
Okay, so with that being said, can you just say your departing ways before I do say mine? Because when I do say mine, what time is it? I think maybe I will end at 12 a.m.
Okay. And I want to leave you people here, and it's a quote that I live by. It's a quote by Gandhi, and the quote goes like this: I am, everything starts with a belief that becomes a thought, that becomes our words, that becomes our actions, that leads to our habits and our values, and that ultimately leads to our destiny. Now, you have the power to change your destiny by changing your beliefs about what is possible, because that influences your thoughts, your words, your actions, your habits, your values, and you create your destiny. So, what I want to leave you by, you have the power in your own hand to create your own destiny. Why? Because the situations you are now in is because of your belief system and the choices you've made that have created the reality where you are in. So go out, change your beliefs, change your thoughts, change your words, actions, and you will see your destiny will change. Thank you, Mr. Mugali. Thank you for this opportunity. It was I'm blessed to be able to do this. And thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Isn't it a pleasure? Isn't it a pleasure? So what I just want to say in terms of my departing ways, as you said, Cobuss, I'm going to quote you. We are our own choices. The decisions we consistently make, the choices we consistently make. But above that and beyond that, I just want to ask you one question tonight. That if I can do it, what stops you from doing it? And with that being said, thank you very much, Cobuss. And I appreciate your time and enjoy the rest of the evening. And I don't take this for granted. I really honored to have you on my show. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.